Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the chairman of the Space Foundation Board of Directors, Dr. William F. Bauhaus, Jr.
Good morning. Welcome to the 27th National Space Symposium. This was really a historic week in space. The first human spaceflight, Yuri Gagarin in 1961. The first shuttle flight, John Young and Bob Crippen in 1981. So really a historic week for space. And once again, I'd like to thank Northrop Grumman for co-sponsoring the opening ceremonies last night. I hope you all enjoyed them very much. I certainly did. And thanks to the SI for co-sponsoring the opening reception. And thanks to Stellar Solutions for co-sponsoring the morning coffee this morning. Well, this morning, we are honored to have as our first speaker the ranking member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and who serves on the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger. Congressman Ruppersberger represents Maryland's 2nd District, which includes parts of Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, and Hartford County. His district is home to the National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command at Fort Meade, as well as other installations and units essential to the nation's national security. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing this morning? Any altitude sickness out there? No, I got a little yesterday, but I think we're okay. Drink a lot of water. First, Chairman Bill, I want to thank you for your introduction. I appreciate that, and for your leadership here. We have a couple members of Congress, retired members of Congress. That's up to my constituents whether or not I'm going to be there. But we have first Senator Chuck Robb of Virginia, Congressman Bob Walker of Pennsylvania, and he was the past chairman of the Space Foundation, and also Congressman Dave Weldon. Welcome. Well, first, it's an honor to be here with all of you that have spent so much of your time working in the field of space or cybersecurity and doing all the things that we need to help and to protect our nation. I'm just honored to be a speaker here, and I hope that when this session is over that we have learned a lot from each other and all the networking that takes place here. I've been told that there will be over 9,000 people that will, one way or another, attend this conference, and that's pretty good for our country and for the industry, and a lot of life's about networking and relationships and learning from each other. Great minds like yours address all of the challenges we do face in space, and I am honored to serve as a ranking member of the Intelligence Committee. On that committee, one of our focuses is space, cyber, dealing with all the signal type of intelligence that we deal with. Now, unfortunately, as you know, we have some issues in Washington. In fact, a lot of us wouldn't have been here if we did not resolve that issue 15 minutes before the country was ready to shut down. And that's not a positive thing. And hopefully, Republicans and Democrats will come together and deal with this issue. We know we have to deal with the issue of costs. We know our deficit is making it weaker as a country, but we also have to make sure when we do the downsizing, we do it the right way. And we review programs that are necessary, and to make sure that the programs that we keep, we fund 100%. And believe me, what we do in space and cybersecurity in those areas are very relevant and very, very important. The chairman of the Intelligence Committee, his name is Mike Rogers, and he and I have made a commitment to have this Intelligence Committee be bipartisan. For the last 4, maybe 6 years, unfortunately, we've had a lot of partisan politics in the intelligence arena, and based on the stakes and that we deal with, we have to make sure that the partisan, we handle our issues in a very bipartisan way. We believe politics has no place, bipartisan politics has no place on the Intelligence Committee. It must be, as we all know in this room and in this country, the USA first. Now, Chairman Rogers is a former FBI agent, and I was a former prosecutor. And even though I'm in the minority now, it's not fun being in the minority, by the way, I always remind Chairman Rogers, he always has to listen to his prosecutor. So hopefully that will be what happens, and we'll see. I'd also like to acknowledge my staff who is here today, my chief of staff who's been with me for 16 years, Tara Osler, Heather Molino, who works on the Intelligence Committee with me, and Bob Meinhardt. And Bob Meinhardt, a lot of people might know in this room, is my senior advisor in space and all of the SINGIT areas in all technical issues. Really focuses on space. He's worked at NRO, CIA, NSA, and has a lot of knowledge. And he answers all of my hard questions. And you'll find out later what I mean by that. He answers all of my hard questions. So I'm reminded of a great story of a physicist who had won the Nobel Prize and was traveling all over the country giving the same speech over and over again, and on a very complicated area of physics. Now, he kept going around giving the same speech, as I said, over and over again. And one day, he was headed to Memphis, and his chauffeur, who has been with him the whole time, said, "You know, Professor, I've heard that same speech so many times, I think I could give it myself from memory." And the professor said, "Well, look, they don't know me very well in Memphis, so why don't you get up and you give the lecture?" "Well, I'll put on your uniform as a chauffeur, and I'll sit in the audience while you give the speech." And so they did. They got to the lecture hall, and the chauffeur got up and gave the speech, speaking for an hour, word for word, and getting a standing ovation. And the physicist who was seated in the audience was amazed and also very proud. But then somebody raised their hand and said, "Professor, that was an outstanding lecture on a very complex area of physics, but I have a few questions." He went into a 3-paragraph question about various equations and formulas and theories. The chauffeur looked at him and said, "That's got to be the most stupid question I've ever heard. And just to show you how dumb it is, I'm going to have my chauffeur answer it." Now, I can't plagiarize, and I have to admit, I stole that joke from Director of CIA Leon Panetta. And no, I didn't have the Chinese government hack into his computer either. Now, Director Panetta told his audience that there were a lot of chauffeurs in the room, and that's true here today with you all. There are many people in this room who know, as I do, how critical the future of space and satellites are to the national security of this country. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today. More than 50 years ago, the United States was shocked into action after Russia launched the first man-made satellite called Sputnik. America stepped up to the challenge, made a significant investment in research and development, and landed a man on the moon 12 years later. A robust American industry was born. An exciting career path was created for the best and the brightest American scientists, mathematicians, and engineers. Unprecedented emphasis was put on science education. America made worldwide headlines for its superior space industry, and just about every kid on Earth wanted to be a Neil Armstrong. America became the most powerful country in the world because of our space program and because we controlled the skies. Today, more than 5 decades later, America's space program is slipping. Our dominance in space is fragile. The president canceled Constellation, the plan to return astronauts to the moon by 2020. This move jeopardizes $11.5 billion in investment, puts thousands of skilled scientists out of work, and shakes the very heart of the space program industrial base. Younger generations aren't growing up striving to be astronauts or wanting to be on the next big space project because there isn't one. There isn't any research and development underway to get a manned mission back to the moon or Mars. Young people can name dozens of NFL quarterbacks, but they can't name even a few astronauts. That tells you something. Private companies don't know what to expect, so they're hesitant to invest in emerging technologies for fear of losing money. At the same time, China and Russia are nipping at our heels. China is pumping money into their space plan, subsidizing private investments in space technology, and setting their sights on a moon landing by 2020, quite possibly with a partnership with Russia. Now, before becoming ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, I was chairman of the Intelligence Committee's Technical and Tactical Subcommittee over the past 4 years, where we focused on maintaining Americans' dominance in space. And our job was to oversee the technical development of the Intelligence Committee, everything from SINGIT to imagery to cyber to space to NSA. We conducted a thorough review, and here is what we found. Skyrocketing costs, outdated export controls, a lack of comprehensive space plan, and we are concerned with rising launch costs and delays. But with that, over the last 15 years, we have had successful launches. We care about satellites because they keep us safe. We use satellites and their images to track suspected terrorists around the world and stop future attacks. Satellites provide real-time data to our troops on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan and allow us to monitor important global developments. Back here at home, we use satellites to operate our GPS systems in our cars or make our cell phones work from here to DC to our friends in Colorado. Satellites are an integral part of our worldwide communication system. Now, in this time of tight budgets, we must ensure we are managing our satellite programs efficiently to make sure we are using every dollar wisely.